We are live on Facebook. Wonderful. All right. All right. Welcome, everybody. I'm Love Coach Scott Catamas, and this is the Essentials of Love Coaching. And I want to acknowledge that I've got a really wonderful group of people that are here. I'm just going to pop it on gallery view for a quick second. You can see some of the people that are joining us. I'm going to hear from them a little bit later on. But this is kind of the completion of a series of classes that we've been running for the last 12 weeks. And I wanted to close it with kind of the essence of love coaching, what it really means to do love coaching, to receive it, to give it, really kind of the way of thinking. One of my favorite ways to answer the question, people ask, well, what's the difference between love coaching and traditional therapy? I like to say that traditional therapists, God bless them, have spent many, many years learning how to evaluate and diagnose what's wrong with you, what's wrong with me, what's wrong with anybody. And there's certainly value to that. From my perspective, through love coaching, there's nothing wrong with anyone. No one's broken. No one has damaged goods. Nobody is permanently disabled because of whatever happened in their childhood or whatever wounding they have. Now, what's true is it's really hard to be a human being, and that we all have very significant challenges. But in love coaching, we remember love. We remember that we came to this world to learn lessons of love. We came here to learn to love ourselves, to love each other. And so the challenges, the ancestral lineage, the epigenetics, the cultural dynamics, these are all very real challenges that we have to cope with and work with. But it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with anybody. We're all here learning these incredible lessons of love. And that really leads to my perception about the meaning of life, because I truly believe that the meaning of life is we're here to learn lessons of love. And that kind of was backed up by quite a few experiences I've had. As a producer, I've produced numerous television shows and online shows on near-death experiences. In fact, ironically, a week from tonight, I'm doing another one on Saturday Night Live. The whole show is going to be dedicated to near-death experiences. We've got really the major leaders in the field coming on. And in doing this work for 30 years, plus walking my mother and my father and my wife and many friends through death, being with them as they died, and then having contact and communication with some of them after they've died. The consistent message from people that have had near-death experiences or that are out there communicating back to us is that life is precious and it's fragile and it's very short. And we're here to learn to love, starting with ourselves. And each and every one of us has our own unique challenges, our own unique issues. I'm here to learn to love myself, even though I have an addictive personality, or my father beat me, or my mother didn't really love me, or, I was abandoned by my husband, or whatever it was. My business failed. These are real challenges with very real pain. The pain is real. But the evaluation, the interpretation that it means that there's something wrong with me is not accurate. In love coaching, we try to alleviate the illusion of shame. One of the things that is really important to recognize is that we all make choices that have hurtful consequences, and we can call them mistakes. Obviously, we all make mistakes. We can learn from our mistakes. But when we adopt an attitude that there's something wrong with me, I'm this, I'm that, I'm not smart enough, I weigh too much, I'll never have true love. We make these interpretations based on painful experiences, based on disappointments and disillusionments. We make these painful interpretations, and then they start becoming self-fulfilling prophecies. And we start collecting evidence to support, yeah, I'll never find true love. I can't really trust men. Women are manipulative, whatever it might be. You know, the painful experience that we had, we create an interpretation, and then we tend to collect evidence to support that. I've worked with about 1,000 couples at this point. And when I start work with a couple to kind of assess where they are, I ask questions to see how much they still love each other, how much they still remember love. I don't start off with, asking what the other person did that was upsetting. I start by asking, hey, tell me some examples of when you felt really well loved, really well cared for by the other. And most of the time, people start remembering. And I said, that's beautiful. Let's share more examples. And they start remembering experiences of when they loved each other, when they felt well cared for by each other. I'll then ask, what are some of the character strengths or virtues, values that you admire about this person in present time? And again, most of the time they start saying, well, I just love how responsible he is. I love how playful she is, whatever it might be. What's sad is when I work with couples where they can no longer access that. They can no longer access or share with an open heart memories of being loved and cared for, or really providing admiration. And that's when the relationship has gone so toxic, where there's so much pain that's built up that there's this wall of pain blocking the love that was there. And actually, again, in love coaching, ideally we try and remove the walls to get back to the love that was there, especially when you're working with couples that are long-term. Maybe they've had children. If they've had babies together, there was enough love to make babies, right? And so whether it's healing relationships with others or healing our own personal relationship with ourselves, it's about remembering the love and remembering what are the blocks to love. There's a wonderful example of Michelangelo, who would, take a chunk of marble and create something as incredible as the Statue of David. And people would say, how do you do that? And there's some famous quote where it says, I see David inside. When I get that marble, I see David's in there. And my job is to remove everything that's not David. That's love coaching. We're here to help people remember who they truly are. And all of us are spiritual beings having a human experience. And we're in animal bodies, and the challenges and the blessings of an animal body. The blessings include food. Food is so good because of the senses and our ability to taste, to see, to listen, to feel. And sometimes what we're feeling feels really yummy and good. And sometimes what we're feeling is uncomfortable. Again, in love coaching, we teach that there are no bad feelings. There are no negative emotions. Let's not judge what's uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable to be sad or angry or frustrated or irritated. It's uncomfortable, but it's part of the human experience. And if we're having uncomfortable feelings, it doesn't mean there's something wrong with us or even something wrong with the world. We're having an uncomfortable experience. Prince Siddhartha became the Buddha of compassion when he accepted, there is suffering. The story, he was doing everything he could to alleviate all the suffering in the world. He was dedicated to alleviating all the suffering in the world because he had such a big vision and the heart of a Buddha. But he had to accept in this world, there is suffering, and we have to learn to be present with it. And so in love coaching, we accept uncomfortable feelings. We accept suffering, and then we transform it by dropping into what are the unmet needs, the unmet values, the beautiful longing underneath the deficiency. Again, if I'm working with a couple and he's being judgmental, she never listens to me. Underneath that is the beautiful longing that he really wants to be heard. He doesn't respect me. The beautiful longing to have more respect, to be seen with more respect. And so in love coaching, we help ourselves because we're learning it. All of us are learning it. I've been teaching this a long time and I'm absolutely still a student. We're learning and sharing and teaching how to find the beautiful longings, the beautiful things we desire underneath our judgments or our perception of deficiency. And we do that through compassion. We do that through empathy. A big part of love coaching is learning how to shift from reptile brain reactivity into frontal lobe responsiveness. And so almost all of our tools are about doing that. And just again, for anybody that's new, or a reminder for our love coaches, when a child is first conceived, all of you listening, when your father's sperm successfully fertilized your mother's egg, wow, what happened next? Well, in the first 24 hours, the very first thing formed, there's a little cellular membrane, and then inside that cellular membrane, there grows this little thing that becomes the reptile brain. It's about the size of a walnut, right? See this little thing? This is your reptile brain, right? And it's the very first thing formed in the first 24 hours. And our brain stem and our entire body is built around this little walnut size. Once we're an adult, it's walnut size, maybe a little larger. And it is our reptile brain. It's the oldest part of our body. It's the most ancient part of us from an anthropological standpoint. And what's its purpose? Survival. We are built to survive. And so this reptile brain, the moment we perceive the possibility of attack, not attack itself, mind you, just the possibility of attack, the reptile brain takes over and gives us basically 4 options: fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. Fawn is surrendering. Fawn is the little dog, when the big dog attacks it, that rolls on its back and exposes its neck and says, you can take me. And then the big dog backs off because it knows that it won. Now, that was very valuable for our ancestors who were in constant physical survival. It kept them alive. They could smell danger. They could perceive the possibility of attack, which was really, really essential. They were our ancestors going way back for a very long time, were in constant physical survival. We're not anymore. Almost nobody listening to me right now is in physical survival. Maybe we've had 1 or 2 moments where true physical survival was threatened. Now, I want to acknowledge many of you may have had an alcoholic father or an angry mother or a brother that was dangerous. And I want to acknowledge that then that sets up hypervigilance and a constant state of anxiety. So that's very, very real. But we're not living in times where we have to worry about the neighboring tribe attacking us. Most of us are not in that place. But we still have that reptile brain that controls things. And so in our relationships, when somebody doesn't treat us the way we want to be treated, we interpret it as an attack, and the reptile brain takes over. What's especially fascinating is the people that study these things say that 97% of the time that our reptile brain takes over, our reptile brain is actually reacting to our own thoughts. It's not reacting to anything that's actually really happening in the external world. There's not actually a genuine physical or even emotional threat in the outside world. It's our own mind running a story, running a memory, running a projection or an interpretation that's not accurate, that triggers our own reptile brain. It doesn't feel good to be in fight or flight or freeze or fun. It feels funky. It's not fun. So what is cool is the human species is moving from survival, reptile-brained reactivity, into frontal lobe responsiveness. That is actually the direction we are moving. And I love to tell this story, and many of you have heard it before, about the Dalai Lama. And the Dalai Lama allowed brain researchers to hook up electrodes to his brain, where they studied how his brain operates. And where they found about 90 minutes worth of research was that at all times, his synapses always fired in the frontal and temporal lobes. Now, there's the logical brain, and then there's the frontal lobe, which is where the empathy center of the brain is and the observer part of the brain is. So we've got reptile brain reactivity, kind of logical brain, that's where we mathematically figure things out, and frontal lobe, empathy, observation, see the big picture. In love coaching, we practice and learn how to move from reptile brain reactivity to frontal lobe responsiveness. And the Dalai Lama is our positive role model. So they're doing this research at all times. His synapses are firing up here. And they decide to really challenge him towards the end. And they show him photographs of Chinese soldiers burning down a Tibetan temple. And they ask him, how do you feel when you look at that? What are you thinking? And he looks at the photos and he weeps. He cries. He's not stuffing his emotions, but the synapses are entirely firing in his frontal lobe. The main researcher then took it one step further. He said, I want to know how you think and feel about Chinese soldiers raping Tibetan women, murdering Tibetan people. And the Dalai Lama was very quiet for a long time. Synapses, though, continued to fire here. And finally he said, it reminds me that I must pray equally for the Chinese soldiers as I do for my Tibetan people. This is where we are going. This is the movement of the human species. And all of us are going to have really hard input. People we love are going to say and do things that hurt us or disappoint us. Things in the outside world are going to bother us. But as opposed to being in our reptile brain and reacting with fight or flight or freeze, we want to learn how to respond with compassionate understanding for ourselves and for the other. Oh, wow, why did she say that to me? I think she's really hurting. She really wants to be heard. Why is he being so loud? He really wants to be heard and understood. Right? That's what love coaching teaches us and what we practice. So, last couple of things, and then we will open it up to some thoughts and some comments and questions from people in the Zoom room. What's it take to be a love coach? And I know some people who are watching this now, and certainly some people that are going to watch this recording. Well, what's that mean? It means that you're really dedicated to living in your heart. You are attracted to the idea of learning how to really love yourself fully and to love others and to approach the challenges of life from the heart as opposed to from a reactive place. Uh, I was just talking about this last night. We had a really wonderful interview with Elizabeth April on my Straight Talk show. And we were talking about just how important it is, any decision we make in life, may it be the movement forward toward the longing of our heart, the longing of our wise heart, as opposed to a reaction to something we don't like, a reaction to something that we judge. Movement toward what we want, what we believe in, what turns us on, what excites us. Let's move toward that. And I'm going to use just a really extreme example. Obviously, child sex slavery is about the most horrific thing that one can imagine that happens. Movement toward, I want all children to be safe and free. Like that, may that be the intention, as opposed to we must destroy all child sex slave people, right? Like, see, one is a reaction that fuels polarization and fuels hatred and judgment. And the other is this beautiful longing that we all have for everyone to be safe, every child to be free. And so again, that's an extreme example. Now let's apply it to our lives. What is it we long for? I so want to be heard and understood. I so want to be well loved. I so want you to understand me or to feel me, to connect to me, to be present with me, as opposed to you never listen to me. You don't care about me, right? See the difference? It's the same circumstance. It's the same experience, but in love coaching, we learn how to make it about what we long for and to move toward what we long for, as opposed to being in a place of judgment. Because judgment only begets more judgment. Now, I've been hip to that for 20 years. Do I have judgmental thoughts? Absolutely. Every day I have judgmental thoughts. Still. But I almost always notice it. Oh, there I go. I'm judging. What's underneath the judgment? Oh, I want more, or I'm longing for. So it's not like it's a light switch that goes off. It's like anything else, like playing a musical instrument, doing yoga, doing a martial art form. Anything that we want to get good at, we have to practice. And in love coaching, we practice with ourselves, with each other, and we share what we learn with our clients and with our friends. And recognizing that everybody's at different levels. In Love Coach Academy, we do have classes. We do have ongoing courses. We have our Wednesday night empathy practice group that Anna Prabha leads beautifully, where we practice giving and receiving empathy. And we'll be establishing more and more classes where people can really learn the skills of love coaching. And honestly, everybody comes to us at a different place. There's some people, Timothy Earle was a professional therapist for 20 years before he came to Love Coach Academy. So he already had a wide background of experience, but he really loved this particular style of coaching. The idea of seeing what's right with people and as opposed to diagnosing what's wrong with them. So this is kind of the essence of it. The love coaches that have been attracted to us totally range in age, background, but there is a common thread of wanting to learn how to love ourselves and love each other even more fully. One last piece that is also really important part of love coaching, and that's self-sourcing. Learning how to not look to the other or external world to get our needs met, but learning how to self-source. Now, often when people hear that, they go, no, I want to be more loved by my wife. I want to be better loved by others. And there's this fear that if we learn how to self-source, it means I'm cutting out the rest of the world and I'm supposed to learn how to meet all my needs by myself. That's not it at all. That's not it. What's true is when we're grasping for someone else to meet our needs, we become repulsive. Think about it. Think about somebody who really is just coming at you, wanting something. What do? You back off. You push them away. Right? When we grasp, we are repulsive and we're less likely to get what we want. When we're receptive and we invite connection, but we aren't grasping for it, we invite it and we're available to receive it, we become attractive. We become magnetic. Self-sourcing are tools that help us to learn how to notice what we're really craving, what we're really longing for, and we own it, we claim it, we acknowledge, I so want to be heard. I so want to have my creative expression fulfilled. We acknowledge what we're longing for, but we reduce our dependency on another or on the world to show up a certain way. And we learn how to receive it and claim it and work with it within ourselves. And ironically, then we attract, or much more likely to attract, loving support and nurturing from the outside world. So that's another very, very important part of what we do. I want to thank everyone for watching so far. And I am now going to open it up to, we have some wonderful friends and love coaches that are in our Zoom room. And so welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. And I am now gonna kind of take the spotlight off myself and open it up to any thoughts or questions or comments or questions that anybody might have. So, and I see most of you have turned your cameras on, but anybody else, if you turn your camera on, then I can see you. And wondering if anybody has any thoughts or questions about the topic, anything that got inspired. Yeah, we'll go with Teresa. Tree. Right.
Thank you. Thank you. So, yeah, I appreciate the topic, and you reminded me of compassion. A common experience for me when I'm driving, it happens a lot when I'm driving, is the person who's speeding and weaving in and out, and it really triggers fear in me since I've had lots of auto accidents. And so I used to get really angry, and I mean, I might initially go there, but then I have compassion for the person. And I remember times when I've been in a rush, and sometimes I do the Ho'oponopono prayer, but I noticed since I've suffered from PTSD and abandonment issues that it really triggers me when people don't respond in a timely manner or at all to my texts. It's like, and being on a dating site has exacerbated that feeling. I haven't been able to apply compassion to that. It's just really, I feel angry and hurt, you know. So I don't know if you have thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's a really good topic. So first of all, thank you for being willing to bring that up. And I'm going to put the spotlight on you as well, and I, so we can see each other for a minute together. There we go. So the discomfort you feel, like, you're on a dating site, you send out a text or a message and you don't get a response. The discomfort is real, but the interpretation may not be real. And then the interpretation adds to the discomfort. The interpretation is probably, it might include just possibilities. It might be, he's not into me, I'm not attractive enough, I'm not young enough, I'm not going to find what I look for. I mean, these would be natural human interpretations to have. Yeah. Did I hit any bingos there?
Sometimes, but I'm just so wrapped up in this, like, oh, it's this really like visceral kind of feeling of like, anxiety of why isn't he getting, like, wanting to know, not being able to control the situation. And yeah, maybe sometimes I go into he's not into me. If we were really interested, he'd respond. But it even happens with friends at that, but where I go to, Scott, and I think and I don't know if this is a band-aid, but that I want someone, and maybe it's a love language too, but I want someone who's going to respond, like going to reach out to me and not, wait several days to get back to me. And that kind of feels nice.
Absolutely. So what you just started to do is where I was going to take us.
Okay.
So we can look at it, any situation, but we'll work with this one from the eyes of deficiency, right? Why aren't they getting right back to me? What's wrong with them? Usually we go into either a what's wrong with them or what's wrong with me. That's usually, it's one of those two places.
Mm-hmm.
Look at what you pointed to, the beauty of your longing. So just notice energetically, in the whole class, whole group, notice energetically the difference between what's wrong with him or what's wrong with me? God, why? Right? How's that feel? Versus, I am really longing and I deserve somebody who's into me and they respond quickly. When they see my text, they're excited to see my text.
Mm-hmm.
They see my text, it's like, God, far out. Teresa just texted me. I'm going to text her back. I want that. I'm longing for that and I deserve it.
Yeah, I guess my challenge is, like, before I get there, I'll start having this conversation, like, the two sides of me, one is upset and anxious, and the other one's like saying, like, trying to make excuses for the person and, like, not honor how I'm feeling.
Yeah. So remember to just keep dropping into the beauty of the longing
Mhm.
underneath whatever disappointment there is,
Yeah.
right? Because that's beautiful. And in compassionate communication, this is called the beauty of the unmet need.
Mhm.
And actually, what we're needing or wanting or longing for is always beautiful. The longing for connection, the longing for respect, the longing for excitement. Teresa just texted me. This is really cool. Right? So that what you're longing for is beautiful. And if we can drop into the beauty of our longing,
Mm.
it takes us out of the neurotic spinning around and around and around and around. And look, we all have things that we're neurotic about. So all of us, right? So I'm not pointing to you just to, this is an example, but we get into these loops, right? These neurotic mental loops that just create more discomfort. And, I want to acknowledge Dr. Snutopia, and when the chat box talked about, well, hang on, there's not peace in the world. There's still nuclear arms. There's still, all those things. And that's true. But here's the thing to remember. How often are we really in present time in danger? Almost never. We're almost never in danger. Now we can focus on all the danger that's out there. We can focus on all the fear. And there are things, if it's a situation where we have some control over something, right? Obviously, if you're driving a car, if you're choosing about a medical situation, there are choices we make to increase our safety. But often we spend so much time thinking about something we have no control over, or in fear of a future or fear of something that we have no control over, that takes us out of the present time. And present time, it's actually a really beautiful day. And we're in a beautiful body. And we have first world problems, right? So every spiritual teacher teaches the same thing. Presence, right in the present moment. Right now in this moment. Are you safe? And as a coach in love coaching, that's one of the things we teach people, because I want to acknowledge, of course, people there are a lot of people who are hypervigilant and who live in a state of low-grade anxiety because of their PTSD, because of whatever happened. But one of the things we teach people is just to ask yourself, if need be, 100 times a day, am I safe right now? Oh yeah, I am. Right? Am I safe right now? Yeah, I am. And just to keep reminding ourselves, I am safe. I am safe. Because even hypervigilance and low-grade anxiety is a habit of worry based on a beautiful longing to be safe. And look, safety is the number one primal need, right? Safety is the most important, the most primal. So we have to get in the habit of, instead of being in an unconscious patterned reaction or hypervigilant state, just keep reminding myself, hey, I'm safe right now. I'm safe right now. I'm safe right now. And that's, again, what we learn how to do is to focus on what is true in present time, as opposed to regretting the past or fearing the future.
Mhm.
Yeah. Is this helpful, Teresa?
Very, thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. That was a great opening example. And go back to gallery view. Are there any other thoughts, comments, or questions that people would like to share? Noelani is reaching towards the computer. So I'm
I
counting on any you want to say something.
yeah, I just wanted to say thank you so much for today. I didn't really know what today's class was. I thought it was you teaching how others could be coaches, which essentially actually you gave the what do you call it, theme, or like the mentality behind it. So I can apply that in my own life. I can love coach myself, right? I can love coach others. So I got that. But what a beautiful and very clear, concise, caring, empathetic, beautiful presentation of what love coaching is, and the dream, the vision, the substance, the tools, the foundation of it. It just was so nicely packaged and clear, and I'm really in appreciation of it. It was so helpful for me.
Oh,
So
thank you,
thank
Noelani.
you.
A lot to
Thank
me.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very
That was-
much.
Woo.
Really happy to be here.
I'm really happy to hear that. Um, Dr. Snootopia, I see you raising your hand. So I'm going to add you here. Hi.
Hi. Yeah, I'll have to disagree with you about that we are safe. You know, if you hear like Greta Thunberg talk about the climate emergency, you know, the burning of fossil fuel we can't see, just like radioactivity, just like the nanoplastics, you know, that are threatening our reproductive situation. So, I mean, why I'm here, I advocate this idea of love evolution, and love actually being a power that could bring this awareness, you know, to the world. So I'm seeing, you know, like if love coaching can, you know, evolve to me like a social movement. And I think that you are trying to do that.
So I'm so glad you're bringing up what you're bringing up, and recognizing that right now in this moment, you and I are physically safe. That doesn't mean we condone ongoing hurtful practices. Okay. And they are two separate things. Yes, there are things taking place that are creating destruction, that are creating danger, that are having hurtful consequences. Absolutely. But right now, in this instant, you and I are physically safe. And if we can embrace the beauty of our personal safety, embrace the blessings of our privilege, because you and I are very privileged. We are privileged, extremely privileged. And to take the gratitude for our privilege and then look at, okay, what are specific things I can do with my privilege, with where do I have power? Where do I have the ability to make the world a better place? And I believe a wonderful place to start, it doesn't mean it's the only place, but a wonderful place to start is our relationships. I don't have too much control over climate change. Doesn't mean I don't want to contribute and be aware of what I can do differently, but I have tremendous control over how I talk with you right now. I have tremendous control over how I treat myself and how I treat the people that are in my immediate orbit. The relationships with the people that I'm in direct connection with is where I have a lot of control. How I talk to that person, how I listen to that person. So I'll try and give an example right now. I hear you have a tremendous desire for our world to be safe. You have a tremendous desire for our world to be in harmony. You have a tremendous desire for us to for our planet to evolve. And you have a vision for the evolution. And it's a beautiful vision. And you get my vote, right? You get my vote for your vision. And I'm trying as best as I can, the little bit that I know you, to acknowledge the beauty of your longing for a safe world, a harmonious world, an environmentally sustainable world. And that is a beautiful, beautiful longing and vision. And I acknowledge whatever steps you make to contribute to that, to educate others. Thank you. Thank you for that. And that can be there. And simultaneously, you're safe in this moment. I'm safe in this moment. And we can just do our best to understand each other, acknowledge each other. And maybe that brings a little more harmony to the world. Maybe that creates a little more sustainability, just in this precious moment that we're sharing. Does that resonate?
It definitely does, because relationships are what's going to save us. But I still think that what we also need is a vision of love. Like, yes. where is this love going to take us? You know, what kind of world are we building? And that's right now, it's just in the imagination because it doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. And love is a vehicle for that imagination. Mm-hmm. And I just like to see Love Coach Academy, expand into utopian thought. Mm-hmm. To really, what kind of world is really going to be good for love, mm-hmm. and lovers and children, to thrive, because now it's too difficult. I mean, even though you think, we're safe, there's this massive confusion, ideological fragmentation, near civil war in America. And then if you look at internationally what's happening with the new space economy, which I've been researching, and this arms race in outer space, we're at a critical moment.
Yeah. I absolutely agree. We're at a critical moment. And when I say we're safe, I'm just saying you and I physically in this instant. That's all I'm saying. I'm not addressing the world's problems, the world's issues. I'm addressing this precious moment in time between you and I right in this second. That's what I'm referencing, right?
I get that. I understand that. I think more the feminist point of view, though, is really global, local. I mean, as we talk, Scott, we are both local, global. Mm-hmm. So you cannot just separate, the global from the local.
I'm not trying to separate it. I'm not trying to separate it. I recognize that some people are motivated by fear of the future. Most people are paralyzed by that. Now, I'm guessing you're someone, maybe you're a first responder. A first responder, my understanding is about 4% of the population, when danger takes place, 4% of the population are wired to move toward the danger. 96% of the population is wired to run away from the danger. And so likewise, as a coach that's coached thousands of people, I've observed that most people are paralyzed by fear of the future. Most people, what they're afraid of, that's usually future thinking. It creates paralysis, overwhelm, shame. Now, some people are inspired by that. I can think of a couple people I know that are really inspired by being in a constant awareness of what's wrong and what needs to be fixed. And that's their way of being. And I certainly am not making them wrong for it. But for me, I think we can all be more effective about creating change by being in a state of gratitude for our privilege, being in a state of gratitude for exactly where we are, not with blinders on, not saying that, hey, la-di-da, I've got it so great, screw climate change. No, of course not. But you are inspired to really do something about it. Aren't you more effective, or aren't most people, maybe you're different, aren't most people more effective if they're at least in the awareness of right now in my personal sphere, I'm safe. Therefore, I can put my attention on a bigger picture. That's where I'm coming from with that. And in my conversations with you, I've observed that you are very global in your thinking. You're very attuned. Your nature appears to be very attuned to the big picture. And that is awesome. That's awesome. I tend to be more attuned to one-on-one personal relationships first. Let's get our family in order. Let's get our personal relationship to self in order, our relationship to life and the divine in order, so that we can be most effective in doing the big work. Right.
Well, I'm glad you're having Bill McKibben on this coming time. I would love to see what questions you ask him and his responses. And, maybe he has some insights into the politics of love and climate change. I'd love to hear, that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. She's referencing tonight's Saturday Night Alive, which is Earth Day oriented. And we've got some really wonderful speakers, including, it's actually a pre-record with Bill McKibben. So we're not going to be able to ask him questions live, which I wish we could. Yeah, but all right. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed the dialogue. It was good. We're almost hooked up. I want to keep it to an hour, but yes, Anna Prabha, am I hearing you?
It's actually me, but you can definitely go on a Prabha. Can I just say one thing real quick? All I wanted to say is that was a beautiful exchange that happened, and and an empath, I totally care for this world so much. And I just want to say that both things can exist. Both things do exist. They're so it's not that one negates the other. And I also just want to, the way that I saw what the value of what Scott is saying is that it's almost like, this is the way that I comprehended it, is that it's starting in your own backyard, essentially, right? It's starting within yourself, so that the more we can heal within ourselves, the more we can have compassion and empathy for the person right in front of us, the more healing can go on. And then when we're a more healed person, we're capable and inspired to heal the world more. Beautiful. So that is the way that I understood that. Thank you, both of you.
Alani. Yeah, thank you. I want to give one example, and this has been really painful for me. Over the last year, I've worked with dozens of couples and families that have been torn apart by different political beliefs or different beliefs about the pandemic. And I've seen how people that used to love each other and that are living together, they're husband and wife or boyfriend and girlfriend or parents and teenagers, have gone into absolute hatred of the other because of a different political belief or a different idea about Trump versus Biden, masks or no masks, vaccine or no vaccine. And the more that people become fixated that they're right and the other one's wrong, it's what causes all the destruction in this world. All the destruction is created when we fall into that right, wrong, good, bad judgment of the other place. Now, in this moment, I'm not promoting masks or no masks, vaccine or no vaccine. We all have a right to believe what we believe and ideally listen to alternative perspectives with curiosity and interest as opposed to judgment. But the point that I'm making and the reason I'm bringing this up is that there are many well-intentioned people who think that what they're doing is really righteous. And in the process, they're not even getting along with their own husband or their own wife or their own children. And you know what? Like Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. It's a lot easier to point to what's wrong with another person or wrong with the world and get self-righteous about it than it is to really listen to a family member who has an opposing belief system. So listen to a friend who has a different perspective. And that's what we really need, I think. We need to heal our relationships. And as we heal our relationships, I really truly believe that we'll make a big impact on healing the world. So that's kind of where I was coming from with all of that. Any other final thoughts? I am wanting to keep it to about an hour. Jen Wakefield is here. Isn't that cool? Hey, Jen, I haven't seen you in a while. That's fun. So Anuprabha.
Yeah, hi. I really appreciate, no, Lonnie, what you were saying, and I was in so much agreement with that. It's actually what I was going to say, partially. And, Scott, thank you for this amazing presentation, this arc with being a love coach. And I've just seen, I've grown so much being with you and doing the love, our relationship essentials group. And I've seen how you've grown throughout the years. And the power, that vision of love that the doctor was talking about, I really feel that that's what we're creating here in Love Coach Academy. Because, for me, coming out of a really traumatic childhood, being hypervigilant, being in a kind of a low anxiety all the time, getting in touch with feelings in the body, right? Tuning in with your body and where you're feeling the feelings. And then in Love Coach Academy, we learn how to talk about these feelings and what we're needing. And often when we were younger, we weren't able to express our needs, right? It wasn't okay to have needs. We were shamed for our needs. And, and understand also as a woman, that's also delicate because as women, our throat chakras are blocked, through a lineage of being unsafe to talk, which we are still, having to really work with and feel and understand that lineage of having our throat chakras blocked. And so on this one, we're getting that support and being in a compassionate, that's what we work with. I lead the empathy practice groups Wednesday nights. So really creating a safe container for everyone to have a voice and share what's really going on with them. And that really where we are with Love Coach Academy and how we support everyone to have a voice and all feelings are welcome. And that's just so important. And really our relationships and our relationship with ourself, having self-empathy and then being able to share that with our partners, with our children, with our parents, with our relatives. And And there's the vision of love that goes out to the whole world, so thank you, Scott.
Oh, thank you, Anuprabha. Thank you so much. All right. Are there any other final thoughts, comments, or questions? Wow, Jen Wakefield. All right. So, hi, Jen.
Hi. Oh my gosh, it's so good to be here. I got your email and I want to tune in. I just want to give my thanks to you and that how much my life has changed by being a part of Love Coach Academy and doing the relationship essentials, I think 3 times. And
Yeah.
it's phenomenal. And I noticed that when my reptilian brain fires up, I know that's an immediate flag for me to pause. So that's what I do now. Now, when I go into this, I get angry or I'm upset or I feel hurt, I take my time and pause. And I think I'm about 90% there. I still react about 10% of the time. And it makes so much more of a mess. And so when I take my time and I go inward and I see what I'm, needing, what I'm feeling, and then I take my time and think what the other person might be feeling and needing. And then I just wait. I tell myself I can't have conversations like this until I'm in a place of peace. I've moved through some of the energy, and then I'll go into a conversation with the individual. And it's just rocked my world to slow things down and move from that space. And it's through your guidance and your skills that you teach that it's changed my life. So thank you.
Oh, Jen, my God, thank you so much. Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. It's
Yeah.
good to see you. Thank you for the beautiful, and what a beautiful teaching. Jen just gave probably the most fundamental teaching, recognizing, oh, my reptile brain, slow down, slow down. It is the most important thing when we get triggered, and learning how to notice the very first symptom, right? Learning how to notice, and each of us has a different early warning system, right? What's your early warning system, Jen? What's the first thing you notice that is an indication that you might be getting triggered or that you're beginning to slide down a slippery slope?
If I'm getting angry about anything, when the anger comes up, it's like there's a need not being met. And so I need to take my time to understand it all rather than just react with the anger. So usually the flag is anger. If I'm feeling anger, then I just stop. I just don't go anywhere with a conversation. I don't respond back. I just wait until, I've settled and had some understanding in myself and thoughts for the other person. And it's so helpful because sometimes I approach back not on my needs, but on their needs. And it's a much more beautiful way to have relationships as to be caring for this other person. And I know that the reason that they're acting out is because they have an unmet need. And and so it's just, it's beautiful. But that 10% of the time, boy, am I on a roller coaster? Oh my God. It reminds me why I don't want to do it, because the roller coaster lasts for days, where if I don't get on the roller coaster, then I can get through it in a nicer fashion, and it will resolve itself. And I'm also accepting my anger. It's like, well, Jen, it's okay to be angry about this situation, but I now keep it to myself or work with a friend rather than at the other person I'm feeling it with. And that feels good too. Honoring, not trying to get rid of the anger, honoring it there, but taking it to a friend where I can reflect, as opposed to the person I'm feeling the anger towards.
Jen, you're giving such beautiful teaching right now. And that is really, really beautiful. And you're right. A wonderful way anger is not bad. It just needs to be honored and managed. And a good little tool is share your anger with someone who will understand you and show care. Don't throw your anger at someone. It's cool to share our anger for the purpose of being understood. It's not cool to throw our anger as a weapon to hurt somebody, whether it's displaced aggression or a sense of entitlement. I'm angry, therefore I'm entitled to be hurtful. No, you're not. But I'm angry and I'm entitled to hopefully find someone who can understand why I'm angry, which of my needs are not being met, and to give me some compassion, some empathy.
Yeah, and having grown up in an angry family and had to, work on this, it's a weak point for me. It's interesting because in my tight group, there's a couple times where I've gotten inappropriately angry and let it out on the people. And I've talked to these sisters at a depth of like, okay, can you work with me? If you see me being angry, then can you also go into a space like, oh, wow, Jen's having a tough time. Instead of them going into a reaction, I just have the discussion outside of any time that's happening. Just say, this is a weak point for me. And if I'm angry, something's happening, and maybe you can lean into it and ask me, well, wait a minute, Jen, you're getting angry. I can only imagine something's really going on for you. Can we talk about it? So, in my close groups, I'm able to ask for some support.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm glad you got that. And thank you, Jen. Thank you. It's so good to see you. And I love all the teaching you just gave. Really, really cool. All right. I really do want to keep this. I want to keep it to an hour. So I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you, Jen and Anna and Noelani and Teresa and Dr. Zootopia for your interaction and comments. Thank you, everybody else, Jay and David, Scott, Catherine, Mia, all the others for being here. And thank you, everybody watching either on Facebook or the replay. And this is going to be the video I'm going to send to people when they want to know more about love coaching. So thank you for watching. And if you have any questions, you can always reach me at lovecoachscottkatamas@gmail.com, lovecoachscottkatamas@gmail.com, or you can send me a Facebook private message. I'm the only Scott Katamas on the planet, so I'm easy to find.
You're unique on the planet, Scott.
Oh, well, thank you.
As we all are.
Yeah, we're all precious little snowflakes. Oh, thanks, David. All right, take care, everybody. Have a great, come to Saturday Night Alive tonight. It's going to be very good. All right, take care, everybody.
Thanks,